So, welcome back. So, in our Cypress with TypeScript series, today we are going to see how we can handle web tables or the browser tables, or we can say as a grid. Now, there are certain operations or certain validations we can do with respect to a web table. Now, to list out them, actually, one thing it would be like you can get the table header data. So like each table might be having a table header and then the table body or the actual data. So we can fetch the details about the header data and then verify them. Another scenario would be getting the number of rows so that you can verify if there are four rows are there or five rows are there, or if it is CRUD operation, let's say you are adding another entry to that, so you can verify the number of rows increased by one. So that kind of validation you can do. And the next one would be let's say that if you have multiple rows and a specific row data you need, so then you can directly point out to a specific row and then fetch all the details about that. Okay, another scenario would be where you are fetching the entire cell data, like irrespective of how many rows and how many columns of the data is there, you can fetch all those details. The last but not least could be one of the thing that you are searching for a specific name or a specific text. If that text is matching, then you can just select that particular row and then click on delete. So that could be one of the operation. So kind of we are seeing the CRUD operation here. At the end you are deleting that one and then verifying if your row count is decreased by one or not. So these are the specific operations that you can perform with respect to a table. It is not limited to only, or Cypress has not only the limitation to do all these things. I've just listed out with my experience what could be done with a table. But yes, you can utilize the concept or the syntaxes what we are going to learn in this session, and you can utilize if you have any specific requirements for a table. Fine. So let's get started. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do subscribe and share with your friends. Okay, so let's get started. So before we will be going into the coding, let me first show you the demo table which I have created for you guys to practice. So this would be the URL actually to work on the web table. So if I click on this one, you can see, and let me quickly go and inspect this one so that we can see what exactly this looks like. So if I mouse over here, so this would be like table. Let me go inside this. You can see, so this is basically the table. It has a T head, that is the header part, you can see, and then there is a T body. So header is basically only the column headers where you can, this is just informational purpose, and the actual data will be holding inside a T body. Okay, so T head is the tag name, and under that you will have a TR, that is the row. All the rows irrespective of header or body, it will be treated as a TR. Each TR will be having a T head. T head is nothing but, or the TH is nothing but the header cell data. You can see as I am mouse overing to each of this tag, you can see the highlighting is different. Now the same thing T body, where it is the actual test data here, and inside this again you will have different rows. Each row is treated as again TR, but the data will be treated as TD. Now you can see functional, QTP, Bugzilla. So these are the different text, and it's not limited to text. Even you can have browser elements inside the TD element as well. Like as you can see, we have a checkbox inside this TD. If you see the last TD, it is having a button. You can have some text box. You can have any kind of browser element inside your TD. So as I'm mocking a scenario where I told you the last scenario, right, where based on a matching text you will be deleting the row or you're performing certain operation. So let's say that dynamically, I don't know what kind of test data is having for a scenario where if I'm saying that any row that has a TFS that is matching, you select this checkbox and click on delete. So this is a static website, so it will not actually delete, but once you click on this delete, the text goes to deleted. So that is what you can verify, but it doesn't really delete this particular entry. So you can just verify. So now we know about the table structure and the functionalities that we can perform with respect to Cypress. So I am moving to the Visual Studio Code and let's see what are the features or the syntaxes are available in Cypress to perform this one. Okay, so the first thing to get the number of headers or the headed data. So for this, what I can do, so I can use this Cypress object, that is sci dot, and then I will say get. And as we know that the get method is accepting the CSS selector, so for this I have to identify this table. So if you go to this table, you can see this is a table 01 t head actually. So directly can I write like this? So because it is an ID, so table 01, which is my ID, and then space t head, that is the header tag name, and here I will say tr. Now I know that the t header is only single rows, but what I can test here is that how many columns are there for this particular row, for this header. As you can see, 1 2 3 4, there are only 4 are there. So if you see the last one, this is actually let me go here into this, and you can see 1 2 3 4, there are only 4 th cells are there. So what I can do here, now when I say this one, now this is actually returning me multiple cells actually. Let me show you that. So if you have installed selectors hub, you can directly open the selectors hub and you can just copy paste, and you can see there are 4 elements that is matching the header part. So here I can say I can do an assertion by using this should method, and here I will say that have dot length. Okay, how many are there? There are 4 actually. So there are 4 elements are there. So I can do like this. Fine. Now before I will be executing that, let me just write another statement where I will be fetching all the details from the t head cell. So what I can do, I can again use the same one because the locator will not change, right? Now here what I'm going to do, because it is returning me the multiple elements, I can use an each method actually here. So this each is basically provided by Cypress itself, and now each element whatever I'm fetching, I'm capturing in a variable, and then here it's a jQuery element, and inside this what I'm going to do, I will be wrapping. So anything that you are providing in the each method, you have to wrap it, always keep that in mind. Okay, and then I will say invoke in this sense, it will be any kind of attributes I can invoke, any kind of attribute or jQuery methods of a particular element, I can invoke it. We have already seen in our previous sessions of fetching the values from a particular element. Now inside this, because it is I have to resolve the promise, I have to make the then statement. Now here what I'm going to do, I will be keeping like this, and as a simple way I will be logging it. Now what I'm logging in, I'm logging in a site.text. So here as you can see, so what it is doing, so first it is matching or comparing how many cells are there for a header row. After that it is fetching each of these items here, each item, and then I'm wrapping that into a jQuery element where I'm invoking the text method actually. Text method means whatever the value or the text that is present in this t edge, that will be invoked, and that one we are resolving a promise by using a then method. I will show you one line code actually. This one we can shrink it to one line, but first let's understand this one and see whether this is working fine or not. So for this I have to open the terminal by entering the control tilt, and then I will be opening my Cypress UI. Okay, Cypress UI is launched. Let's not update at this moment, and this is my webtable.ts. Let's click to run this one, and the Chrome browser is launching. And as you can see, total items are 4. You can see it is highlighting, and then each item you can see it's a checkbox, there is no specific text, that's why it is coming as blank. The next t head is this one, the second column, and that is manual testing. You can see automation testing, issue tracker, and there is no other elements here, that's why you are getting only 4. So like this you can fetch it. So instead of this, as I was telling, I can even use into a single line of code. So because it is a jQuery element, I can do like this sci.log. Okay, so directly on this element itself I can perform certain operations. You can see it is providing so many different methods when I'm using that individual elements. So here I can use the text method directly. So this is a jQuery method. Okay, you can even click, you can fetch the text, you can do whatever you want. Now once I will save this one, you can see this will rerun again, and you can see it is giving all the details. Okay, the same one only, there is no difference. You can see the th, and each element is simply fetching all the text. For this checkbox there is no text, that's why it is coming as blank. So that is how you can fetch the details of a particular row. So the same thing, because this is header, we have used t head, right? But we can use even t body. Let me show you that. So just by changing this t head to t body, it will redirect to this one, and instead of th I will be writing td. Okay, you can see there are 15 elements matching. 15 means each row 5 elements are there, and there are 3 rows are there, so 5 threes are 15 elements are matching. So the same thing I can even do that. Now let's try to fetch the number of rows of a t body. Now what I can do, I can copy paste the same one, and at this moment let me comment this one so that the logs will not go a lot. And here instead of this I will be doing t body, and then th is only specific to the t head, right? Now what is for t body? Actually that is td. You can see the hierarchy here. So t body, tr, td. Now t body, tr, td. Now have length, how many rows are there? 1 2 3. It's excluding your t head. You can see T head and T body are different. You can see T head and T body are different. So that is why the length would be only 3. There are only 3 rows of data. First row, second row, and third row. Fine. And instead of this, I have to give it as TR. So how many rows are there? That many rows I am verifying here. Fine. Now before proceeding this one, let me show you the same way. See, because T head is only single row, I have mentioned like this. Now if I want to fetch, let me do one thing. Let me get the entire thing, and here if I say t body, and then if I'm saying tr, there are actually multiple rows are there, right? It's not limited to only single row like how we were doing here, tr and th. So tr is only one for th, that's why we didn't mention any index. But whereas t body has different trs, I will show you that as well here. Now when I'm saying this one, you can see there are three different rows are present. So it means that now specific row data, let's say that I want to get the first row data. So what I can do, css selector has this option tr, which is multiple, there are 3 rows are there, right? I can use nth of child, and here I can put any index to this one. Fine. Now let me show you this one in this selectors hub. And always try to, whatever css selector you are using, better option, you come here and try to evaluate your syntax whether it is correct or not. So because I want to fetch the first row data, so t body, that is actually this one. Under that, this is my tr, you can see tr, but there are 3 instances. If I cut this one, you can see there are 3 elements matching, so I have to get the first row. If you want to get the second row, simple thing, you can go to the single second. Now if you put 3, you can see third row is identifying there or matching there. So the same way we can do that. Okay, now here inside this, oops, okay, so inside this you want to fetch all the tds. You can see if I put here td, you can see it is identifying individual cells, so the entire thing I'm taking here. Now the same thing again, because this is returning me a specific rows all data, I'm taking a each loop anything. This is a collection, this is not now returning a single element, it is returning all the cells of the first row, this one, 1 2 3 4 5, all the elements. That's why I'm taking a each. So each is kind of looping around how many td elements are there. So whatever it is returning this one, that many times this each loop will be looping around. the same thing, el I'm taking, and I can even go with the same thing. Anyway, we have seen this one already, right? Okay, so fetching a specific row data, you can do like this. So you have to take the specific row that you're looking for, and then you have to say td, that is the child element of this. See, this is css selector evaluation. So from left to right, this is my parent, this is the sub parent, and this is the again another parent of this t body, and td is the child element of this tr. Okay, that is how you can fetch all the cells. Now if I'm saving this one, and you can see it will be executing here, you can see there are only 4 columns of this header, but here if you see there are only 3 rows are there. You can see 3 rows, 1 2 3, that is what length is 3. And now when you are coming to this one, it is fetching the first row, because tr nth of child 1 of td. Now you can see functional qtp bugzilla for delete and for checkbox. For this one and this one, there is no direct text is present. As you can see here, if I go inside this, yeah, you can see this is like a button. Actually, this button don't have any text, it has value attributes. Okay, so that is why you can see the first one and the last one is blank, because we can perform certain actions, like we can click on this checkbox, we can click on this button. That's why the text is not present at this moment. Okay, so that is how specific row details you can fetch it. There is another way as well you can do that. Let me show you that way as well. So what I can do here, let me comment this one as well so that it won't print. So the same thing, let me first copy this entire thing. Now instead of this, actually there is a EQ. Okay, let me show you that. So what I can do here, I'll go up to this one, T body TR. Okay, now this will return me 3 rows for sure. Actually, we know this one, we have already tried that. Now whenever it is returning these multiple elements, instead of each method, I can do one more thing actually here, EQ. Now this is kind of getting a particular index of that. If I make it as 0, it means that it will return me the first row of that. So because this is evaluating to 3 different elements, 3 different rows, if I'm making EQ of 0, it will fetch me the first row. Now once I get it, you can see this will return me one element. You can see html element. So when this entire statement will return me this first row. Let me go to this application. So this is basically it is returning. Okay, so this entire row, it's not actually td, it's this entire row, this one is returning when I'm making it as eq of 0. Once I got it, what I need to do within this particular row, I want to fetch everything, right? So there is a within method actually in what do you call, in our Cypress. Now this one actually I need to loop it. So this within will make it as what do you call, anything that inside this I can mention. Okay, so based on this first row, I can play with the data. Fine. Now I got the first index of that row, that means that row 1. Now what I need to do within this row 1, what I want to identify, simple thing is that I want to get the td. Okay, inside that. Now once I get this td, how many tds I will get it here? So when I'm saying td, I will get this one. Actually 5 matchings are there, right? Now what I can do here, I can call this each statement. Okay, and inside this what I'm going to do, as usual, I will be using a jQuery element here, and inside this I can play with the data. Fine. Now here what I will do, sci.log, and I will say el.text method, as simple as that. Now what this will do, so within this first row data, so this will actually return first row. Okay, once I'm getting this first row, within this one, so whatever identification I'm doing, the parent will be this one. That is how the within method is designed. So anything that you do, this sci.get will not what do you call, identify the td from the root element, rather it will be identifying from the first row only. That is what the benefit I'm getting here. Okay, even I can verify a text also. Let's say that first row there should be a text of qtp. So what I can do, after I'm fetching the element, instead of printing, let's say you don't want to print this one, so what you can do here, you can put a if statement here, and you will say el dot text. Okay, and here you will say equal to, and you will say qtp. Okay, and inside this you can write anything. Actually, you can say sci.log, you will say that qtp found, qtp text found. You can do this one as well. Fine. Now let me do one thing. Oh, it's running, no problem. Let me even uncomment this one, so you will see the first row data, it will print, and also it will compare if the qtp text is there or not there. Let me save it again, and let's see the output here. You can see, so it is taking eq of 0. You can see, so this is taking the entire tr, means all the three rows. When I'm saying eq of 0, you can see it is pointing now to the tr1 only. That means that first row. So within this one, so anything that I'm writing within statement, everything will be only identified within this first row. It won't go out of this first row. Now you can see functional qtp text found, because qtp text is coming, and then individual cells it is printing everything because of this statement. Oops, because of this actually sci.log element.text. So these are the two kind of two different ways actually. If you have any requirement to directly point out to a specific row actually, so that you need not to traverse through each row and then go over. Okay, but this is only benefit when you have what do you call a specific row. You know that my data is on this particular row. But what if you have a dynamic data actually, like let's say that the data is keep on changing. So tomorrow somebody added some entry, and now instead of first row, the data might be in the second row, or might be going below to your what do you call, somewhere towards below of your table. That time you are not sure, right? So something you have to do where you have to fetch all the row and column data. Okay, at that time how will you do that? Let me show you that way. So let's say it's a dynamic. I don't know how many rows are there, how many columns are there. We will be going to handle that one. So the same way I will be doing this one, and then let me copy paste the css selector. Oops, this entire thing. So see, we are just learning one by one so that you will not get surprised. So these are the simple things. Now by using this each, within, and all these concepts, we will be going through one by one, step by step. Fine. Okay, so now I'm using the each. Oops, each method. Now what this each method will do, this will return me all the rows, right? So can I write like this? So the entire row it is fetching. Now in this actually what I can do, I can do like this site or trap. I said that anything that you are taking in this each statement, you have to wrap it again, so that you can utilize all of your Cypress related methods actually, because this is a HTML query, right? This is a jQuery element. So on top of this, so this jQuery can only allow to say to have some operations only, like click, get text or something, but you cannot utilize on this element any of the Cypress related methods. For that reason you have to use the crap method. This will convert your this HTML element to the Cypress specific element. So that is why I'm doing here. Once I will write this statement, you will come to know. So to make this within, you need that actually. Okay, so inside this within, what is the syntax? I can do like this. Okay, now inside this what I'm, oops, this is not plus, this is equal to. Okay, so now within this, so within means what? Within this rows I want to fetch all the columns. Column means what actually? All the tds. So sci dot get of td, it is the same concept I'm doing. Instead of a specific row, because I have mentioned here eq, that's why this each method was not coming, if you are thinking in that way. Okay, because see here I'm not giving any specific index, because I want to traverse through all the rows of that. That is why directly I have mentioned like this, and each here it should be like this. Okay, That is the syntax. Each, within, then, all the syntaxes are almost similar only. Okay. Now here sci.getTD. Now sci.getTD means what it will come. It will not show you a specific row actually. It will give you the entire columns. Like for an instance, this is like this. If I show you that, all the 15 elements it is showing, means all the cells. So when I'm doing this one sci.getTD, this will give you all the cells. It means that we got it. Now we can play with this sci.get to whatever we need. Okay, so this each will loop it across each row. Now each row it will be fetching all this sci.get. So first loop it will give me the first rows all the tds, second loop it will give me second rows all the tds, like that it will be rotating. Now I will say each, because sci.getTD is giving me all the cells of each row actually. So here again the same thing. Now instead of a row, here I want to fetch all the columns, and the syntax would be like this, right? Now here this column I can print it. So as usual, sci.log, and I will say col.text. Okay, it's not only fetching this what do you call column text. Even we can perform certain operations as well, like we can click a certain checkbox, we can click on this delete button. I will show you that, but first let's see that if by using this particular syntax, can I really print all these cells or not? That is the first thing I want to see. So if I save it, you will see this will be started here. Now as you can see, if I'm correct with everything, you can see that is that one actually here. So get td, it is first taking the first rows td within, see all the trs, it is coming all the tr in that within first loop. Each statement is taking as loop, each means this each. Okay, so first one it is taking this one, you can see all the rows it is coming in the td. Now it is the second td, now it is the third td, and all the values it is printing. How, from where these elements are coming? I mean the text from sci.log. Either you can use the column dot text method directly using the jQuery element, or you can use this method as well if you want only Cypress specific. And this is applicable for any kind of each statement. Sci.wrap, you can take this one, invoke the text. This is on a shorter format, so that's why we are using. So Cypress is giving to use the jQuery element methods, which is the pure raw jQuery methods like this text, click, and all those things, or else a Cypress specific like sci.get of something, or sci.wrap of this one dot click also you can do that. Fine. Now the second one, now we know that how to fetch all the elements of a particular, or the elements and also the text. So this is giving me the entire element. All the element means all the tds of different rows. So it means that now if the requirement comes, now because we understood this one, let's move to a bit advanced thing. Let's say that you have a requirement where wherever GUI is matching, or this GUI text is matching, you select this particular checkbox and click on this delete. Let me refresh this one so that it will show like this. So wherever GUI is matching, you select this checkbox and click on this delete. Okay, or else you can say that traverse through each of these rows and cells. Wherever functional is matching, select this checkbox and click on delete. So this we have to make it as dynamic actually. See, now we know functional is on this first row, GUI is on the second row, so we can perform by using eq 0 1 2 or something. Let's say you have 100 rows of data, you don't know, right? So these are all dynamically you are fetching. So this is dynamically, so you don't know. And see, it's not restricting to how many rows. So if whether you have 10 rows or 15 or 100 rows, it doesn't matter, this code block will definitely work for you. Fine. Now let me do one small change actually. Instead of just printing it, let's move ahead and do something here. So here I will say if, and then I will say column dot text. This is the jQuery method, and I'm saying equal to, I'll say GUI. Oops. And here if it is matching, so if the GUI is matching, select this checkbox. Now let's identify this one. And now let's see how do I know that which row it is coming? So that is what the each loop is doing. So I really don't care that the GUI is matching on the first row or second row. Okay, on the first loop it will go. So let's say that first row. Now first row side dot get whatever it is coming, it will come functional, QTP and Bugzilla. GUI is not matching. So that is why it will go to the next loop. In the next loop means all these details will come. Means GUI is matching, means I am still in this row only. So whenever I'm matching this row, I can play with this row, right? By identifying this button, this checkbox and this button, because within is there. So which loop GUI is matching, inside that I can perform, I can identify any of the elements, and you can see it's a input and there is a text here. There is a input, so both are input. This is type is checkbox actually. I can either identify this input, or else what I can do, I know that this TD is on 0th element and this TD is on the 5th element. Okay, this is 0 1 2 3 4 actually. And always keep that in mind. Most of the tables so far I've seen, the buttons are, I mean, in its own fixed locations only. In it means that fixed index means checkbox will be always at the beginning. The delete button may be towards end of your row, or maybe the second index of your row. Okay, but it is not like that. This time the delete button is extreme end, and after once you sign out and sign into the application, the delete button will be somewhere inside. That should not be the case actually. Okay, so that's why these are all fixed positions only, because the data can go, like the TFS can come here, the GUI can come here, or anything, the data can play with any place, but the buttons will be in fixed. If not, also what you can do, let's say that your checkbox and delete button is not in particular index. First let's think that if it is in fixed location, what I can do, sci dot get of TD. Now TD means which row, that row this particular GUI is matching. Now dot EQ, the same concept which we have used. EQ of 0 means that is the checkbox. Okay, now the second statement would be, this will check the checkbox, and oops, not there, it should be here. And the fifth column is your delete button. Okay, and this would be your checkbox. Okay, like that you can do. Let's say that for some reason you don't have a fixed what do you call index, what you can do, as simple as that, sci dot get, and inside this you can what do you call identify this particular checkbox actually. So you can say, you can use like this, type equal to checkbox. Now in this case what will happen, we are not identifying based on some kind of what do you call index actually. Okay, so this will not depend on, this is actually checkbox, but not depending on any column index. So whether it is on the first column or second column or whichever column is there, I don't care. The same thing, instead of equal 5 actually, that is the index 5, you can identify the delete button. Okay, now let me save and let's see if this is working fine or not. You can see GUI is matching and it selected this checkbox actually. There is something is there. Oh, okay, 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, there is no fifth index. It always starts from 0, so it's the fourth one. And you can see it clicked on this checkbox wherever the GUI is matching, and then it clicked on the delete. That's why the text got changed to deleted. Now let's say I'm making it as functional, the same code base. I'll write like this, functional is okay, so this is functional, and I'm saving it. And you can see, okay, now this time it checked this checkbox. So whichever loop it is matching, whichever loop this particular element is matching, inside that only it is identifying the elements. That's why you need not to worry about that, that this sci dot get is really identifying across this table. Basically it is not searching across this table, it is searching across each row, this particular element. That's why wherever it is matching the specific row, what do you call elements only, it is trying to click it. So that is the way it is handling. So this is bit different, it's not complex actually. You have to understand the each and then the within actually. So within is always like if you are identifying a specific element, dot within, then it will take that element as a parent. So within that parent element only it will search, it won't search across your HTML dom. That is the benefit of within method. Okay, so now we have identified this particular all the cells and perform certain operation, and this is very much classic way, I can say, this way of identifying whether you are using Python, whether you are using Java, or you are using anything JavaScript or any other tools as well. This is the classic way of identifying that, and every tool, every language will give you an option to traverse through each row and column, just the syntax will be different. But by saying that, Cypress gives you another way of identifying the elements. We have already seen the contains method. If you remember, let me just quickly go over to this one. You can see the contains, what we were doing. So contains method basically searches for a particular text. Wherever the text is matching, that element it will return. Means, can I do like this? If I go to this one, let's say I'm searching for GUI, right? Now if I say site dot contains this GUI text, means this contains method will return me this td. If I say site dot contains tr comma GUI, means wherever the GUI is matching, the immediate tr tag it will give me. Okay, so it means that if the GUI is matching, that tr I got it. So can I go to within this tr, can I click on this one? As simple as that, I can do that as well, right? Let me show you. If you're not understanding, hold on, and then let me just write the same statement. So I will say sci dot contains, sorry, sci dot get contains cannot go with directly to sci dot contains. You can see here also you can do that. Okay, so I will say sci dot get and then colon. Here I will directly go with the table. So inside this table, you search. That means that contains, and then I will say that GUI. Let's say. Now let me just keep it to this level only. Let me do one thing. I'll just comment these things so that this will not execute at this moment. Fine. Let me comment this one and let me save this one so that this will run. Okay, there is some problem. Oh, the locator name is incorrect. Okay, now let's see, you can see when I'm saying that GUI, it is directly going to this particular element actually. So now when I'm getting this element, there is another option as well. Contains can accept two different parameters. One is, see, this is giving me the TD actually. This is my individual cell. Can I get the entire row? Wherever the GUI is matching, the entire row I need. Yes, we have already seen that. So I will say tr, comma. Now if I save it, you can see the entire row is matching. Now if I say functional spelling, functional and save it, you can see it is going to the first row. It means that there's only one statement kind of done all these things for me, because I need not to loop it. The contains method does that for me. Great. Now once I found out a particular row, what I am going to do, I will call this within method. We have already seen this one. Now what is the syntax here? Simple. I'm going to this one. I can play with that. So once I got this row, inside this I can identify this checkbox and I can identify this particular delete button. It means that I can use this entire statement inside this. Fine. Now save it and see what happens to our code. And you can see functional matched. It checked on this checkbox and clicked on the delete. And see the same thing if I'm doing a GUI. I'm not saving it. Let me show you. So functional checked and deleted. This time I'm searching for GUI. Now I'm clicking on save and then it will run. You can see before it was checking this checkbox, right? Now it is checking this one because GUI is matching here. That is the equal 0. That is the first index and the fifth index of that, this TD. So that is how you can do that. So whatever way, like if you're not comfortable with the contains method, you can go with this one. Actually, this is classic way, though the lines are more, actually this is pretty much understandable, and this is bit advanced concept we are using. Okay, so that is, I think, pretty much any operations that you are doing with respect to a table, whether you are doing a adding, updating, or you are deleting something, or comparing the number of rows, you can use any one of these particular, what you call, syntaxes, and you can perform any of your operation or validation with respect to your application. Okay, so hope these different ways will definitely give you some kind of confidence to work on the tables. Do practice, and I'm not saying that limit yourself to this particular table. You can go with any table, you can go to any traveling website, you can go to any booking websites. There you can get some of the search results, and you can perform any operation there based on the syntaxes that we have learned. Okay, so hope this session is useful. Stay tuned, we will definitely see some other interesting Cypress topics. Okay, do subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't. Thank you for watching.